Guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm back at Into Moto again, and today I'm not taking this lovely blue Royal Enfield Interceptor out. I'm taking another little 125cc motorcycle out, and a few people have been asking, why don't you do any Lexmotos? Well, today I am, so let's have a look what I'm on. Now, I know what you're thinking. This doesn't look like a Lexmoto. It really doesn't look like a Lexmoto. I've seen loads of different Lexmotos and they've always generally looked on the cheaper side. But that, in fairness to the ones I've been on, it's because they've been really cheap bikes. Now, this is not cheap for a Lexmoto. Brand new, these are just short of £3,500. So £3,400 I believe they are with the on the road costs. Now that's not very Lexmoto, but looking around this bike, it's not very Lexmoto. It looks nice. Let's start off full look round of Lexmoto's LSN 125. So straight into the close-up, before I go walking all the way around it, just look at that exhaust. It just draws the eyes. How nice does that look? Again, this is a Lexmoto. This is supposed to be a cheap and nasty Chinese bike, according to what everyone says online, but it does not look like a cheap and nasty bike. It actually looks pretty smart, this bike. You let me know what you think about it in the comments. But as far as these naked sports bike looking machines go, I think that's a really, really nice looking machine. All the way round, you can see this is a 2022 bike, so it is a used model. It has got about 5,000 miles on the clock, I believe. I'll have to double check whilst put the ignition key in. But it's looking very, very, very clean for a used example, especially a used example of a bike brand that everybody, if you believe them online, will tell you they fall apart after having them for a short time. Well, this just looks absolutely mint. 2-piston caliper, single piston rear disc at the back as well, and again, brake test when we're on the move. How nice do those wheels look, by the way? Nice. I've mentioned already it's the 125cc bike, and it has got a horsepower figure of 13.7 mighty horses. If we believe the figures, this will go all the way up to 69 miles per hour. But will it with someone like me on? I would doubt it, just purely because of how heavy I am. However, if you've got one and you are of a normal weight, unlike myself, let me know, how fast have you gone on yours? It's got an 800mm seat height. Now I am maybe like a millimetre off getting my heels down on both sides, but it does feel, it feels fine for me, and I've got short legs, 29-inch inseam. I'm pretty much flat foot, let's just say that. Pegs fairly central, and where my knee's going down, I like how the tank is shaped so my knee tucks in just to where the tank curves out a little bit. It makes you feel like you're part of the bike as opposed to sat on it, and I like that. That's a good feeling. Nice up straight position. If I do have my back up straight, it is a bit of a stretch for the bars. It is. So likelihood is to get more comfortable, I'll lean forward a little bit, just because I feel more comfortable with a bit of a bend in my arm. So your back is going forward just ever so slightly. It's got a 15.5 litre fuel tank, and I've said this many a time, 125cc bikes are where it's at as far as miles per gallon goes. They are really fuel efficient, and with 15.5 litres, let's just compare it to a scooter that might have 5 litres, so that you're going to get a lot of miles. Basically what I'm getting at is, for a small engine bike, many a miles out of that amount of fuel. This weighs 159 kilograms, so as far as 125cc bikes go, it's not the lightest bike in the world. To give you an example, an average 125cc scooter maybe will weigh between 105 and 115 kilograms. This at 159 is no lightweight. However, it's still a 125, so it is lighter than a larger capacity bike. So if you were downsizing from a big bike, this will feel really light. It's just not as light as some. Nice clear LED indicators at the rear, like that. Rear seat looks not particularly big, but it feels nice and plush, and you've got these nice big grab handles. Should you want to take anyone on the back, it is kitted out for you. Not that 125s are my choice to take anyone on the back, because it's the extra weight, it's going to be affected in the performance, but you're able to, is what I'm getting at. This has got the crash protection as well. You've got these crash bungs at the side, like that. Always good to know that the expensive part of your bike's protected. You've got indicators, there's a horn, there's a mode button, there's a high and a low beam, and you've got a flash at the front. So at the bottom, you've got your lights, you've got hazard lights, and then you've got your engine stop start. Let's have a look at the screen. What have we got? Nice little LCD screen. You've got your rev counter going backwards. Always strange watching it go from left to right. You've got your total miles, there's a gear indicator, you've got fuel gauges, nice big clear speedo, and then you've got your temperature gauge going this side. You've got your warning lights at the bottom. Just one button changes it from miles per hour to kilometers. That's good if you go into a different country. Right hand side button is your trip computer. I'm quite late getting it into Moto today, so we're already late afternoon. It looks like we're starting to go dark, so I want to go and take this bike out for a ride now while there's still a bit of daylight. So gonna grab my helmet, put my gloves on, and let's go for a ride. Let's see how good it rides. I like the looks of it. Just doesn't look like other Lexmotos I've been on. It looks better. Let's see if it rides better. So a bit different as far as your engine start goes. You push it down to start your engine, push it up to turn it off. Let's see what this is all about. It sounds pretty meaty. It does. It sounds really meaty, to be fair. It sounds a much more than you'd get out of a standard, normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill 125cc bike. It feels a little bit like lower pitched as far as the exhaust note goes. It doesn't have the high pitched noise that you can get out of a lot of smaller capacity bikes. So the screen as well, I like how bright that is. Now it is getting a bit darker now, so we'll see if I'm out in the dark and it's really bright, I'll let you know. But it's just at a perfect level where it's very noticeable and very just easy to read. Visor downtime, it's getting a bit chilly. Now I've got both feet up, it feels more of a sporty position than a normal naked sports bike. I do feel, now I've got both feet up, like the pegs feel like the back a touch, and I am leaning forward just a little bit, but I do feel like, yeah, I'm in like a soft sporty position. It's probably the best way to put it, because it doesn't feel like a sports bike. I'm not bent over the tank, but I am bent forward a little bit, and my feet do feel like they're just slightly off center. It's not an uncomfortable position. I actually like it. It feels like I said, like a soft, sporty position. So it feels like you're ready to go, but it's not uncomfortable. So yeah, it's a good thing. Oh, traffic's building up. I don't like traffic. In fact, I hate traffic. Do you know what I'm going to try? I'm going to try a little U-turn. That's what I like 125cc bikes for. How easy is it to spin around? And the answer is very easy. A nice sounding motorcycle this for a 125cc bike. I'm so glad it sounds good, because when you look at the exhaust itself looks like it's a bit meaty. It looks like it's something different to the norm. It's not just got the one pipe coming out the back, it's got those two pipes, and they've styled it and they've put all that effort in. So I'm glad it sounds good and it doesn't just disappoint, because this definitely doesn't disappoint. The noise is beautiful. And going around these bends, it's actually a nice bike to just glide around that long sweeping bend. I like that. The clutch lever does feel to be, what's the word, like it's not quite like a Harley Davidson or anything like that, where you're doing a proper wrist workout when you're changing gear, but it doesn't feel light. It's like reassuring that it's there, you know what I mean? I don't think you can compare it to the faster 125s that I've been on. I would like to think it would reach 60 mile an hour, but I don't know, I can't see it. It doesn't make me think it's a really quick bike. It feels nice and it's easy to ride and it's comfortable, but it doesn't have like that initial, oh, it feels nippy, it feels quick. It doesn't have that kind of instant thrill factor about it, like I've had on a couple of other bikes. Well, shockingly though, when I've had that on some bikes, they've struggled to get to 60. So what do I know? This bike might be able to do what it claims. I mean, I'd like to go to my usual place to do a performance test, but I can't today. The road itself is closed, so I don't know what's happening up there, but I'm going to have to give that part of my little test today. Well, I'm going to have to not do that today. Shame. Getting a little bit of vibration through your hands, but not much. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. I've been on loads of bikes and I've owned loads of bikes that vibrate more than this does. So there's not really, I'm being quite picky. But I am being quite picky. I'm trying to find things on it that I don't like. I mean, the looks of it, I think it's a nice looking bike. Let me know what you think. I'm always interested in your opinions in the comments. But I'm just enjoying my time with it. I'm finding it to be a comfortable bike to just bimble about on. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those bikes that you just feel comfortable with. It feels nice. It's hard to kind of put it into words without sounding like a complete simpleton. So I think I'm failing miserably on that. Just sounding a bit of a buffoon. Oh, this traffic. But I'm on a 125. I've got loads and loads of room. I'm not going to try and get in front of that Tesla though. Town centre riding on a 125 in the bloody freezing. Oh, and it is getting cold as well. I definitely should have come earlier today. But you know, some days you're early, some days you're late. No, I'm always late. Just before any of my mates comment, I'm always late. It's equally at home, I think, this bike, when you're doing the slow speed maneuvers to when you're doing like the faster roads. It's got, today for me, I've been up to 50 miles an hour on it and it does it fine. It doesn't feel rapid, but it feels fine at those speeds. It's more than capable. I just like to keep it high revving because the sound is good. From a little ride around town, let's just start breaking it down, shall we? As far as your standing start speed goes, to 30 mile an hour, it feels like a better than average 125cc bike. It gets to 30 miles an hour at a decent enough pace. Now beyond 30 it starts to feel a little bit sluggish, but bear in mind I'm a heavy SOB, so because I'm so heavy, 125cc bikes will always struggle with someone like me on. Now, will it get to 60 mile an hour? Unfortunately, I'm not able to test that today. I'd be confident that it could get to 60 mile an hour with me on it. The figures say it will get to 69 mile an hour top speed, so I'd like to think that it would get to 60 mile an hour with me on it, given a long enough runway. But what I'm actually impressed by with this bike, and I've been impressed with a lot of the cheaper brands over the last year or two, because I've found that they're actually up in the game, and I do believe that. I've been on so many cheaper motorcycles over the years, and you can see the difference with the bikes coming over from China. Some of the bigger brands like Lexmoto and Kiwi and bikes like that, I think that they are really up in the game. It just seems to me like they're trying to make the bikes better. They're using better components on the bike. They're using like just better materials. And this, whilst it's not the complete what I would call a premium motorcycle, because I don't think it is. I think looking round, like the switches don't look too bad, but then when you use them they do feel a little bit cheap. So yeah, I think there's little things like that with it. They're trying to cater for people of different bank balances, because this bike is not cheap. I've seen Lexmotos for a little over £1,000. This at 3.5, as near as damn it, for a brand new one, I think is, well, it's more up there on the price, isn't it? But then when you compare it to those cheaper bikes from Lexmoto, well, I don't think you can, because this does feel like a much better made bike than those. I mean, there's the shining light really for me is this bike has done nearly 6,000 miles, and yet it still looks nice. It's still going through the gears nicely. The engine starts first time. It's comfortable. It looks clean. It sounds amazing. They can try and compete with other bike manufacturers out there. Now, my only thing is, if you've watched my channel before, you will know I'm a bit of a fan of the cheaper Chinese motorcycles, in particular the 125s that are made by Benelli, that are made by Vosges. Now those bikes are actually cheaper than this bike. Now that's my only issue with this bike, is as nice as this bike looks, and it's certainly a step up from what Lexmoto have made in the past, I think this is definitely a step up from what we're all used to and what we've all come to know from the Lexmoto brand. However, he says, I look at that bike at the side of me, for instance. So Kiwi's RKV 125, that bike looks awesome, and it looks like a premium bike. I've said it before. It surprises me that I'm saying it about Kiwi, but that looks amazing. That for me is a bike that just stands out. Now I like cruisers, so I get, you know, some people won't, but when you then look at something like this and you think, well, yeah, different genre, different type of bike. This bike is it's a naked sports bike. That's what you're going to be comparing it to, a naked sports bike. Well, Furdu's naked sports bike, okay. But then let's just say then that if you were comparing this to a naked sports bike, so say something like Vosges R125, use that as a shining example, because that bike is around the same price. What bike would I rather have? Would I rather have a brand new Vosges R125 or the Lexmoto LSN 125? Well, if it was my money personally, I would get the Vosges R125. I just think those bikes are brilliant for the money. The Vosges is brand new with 0 miles, and this is a used example. So for me, I would go with the security of the longer warranty of the Vosges being brand new. I would. Just using a Vosges as an example, because there are lots and lots of bikes inside into Moto that are cheaper than this bike. You've got to weigh that up yourself. Do you want a used model or do you want a brand new one? It's just one of those, do you? And I know everyone's taste's different, and I know I'm rambling on a lot, and I'm okay with rambling on a lot, because something pops in my head, I just have to share it. But it is just one of those, it's a do you what do you prefer? I know I've talked a lot of shit on this bike, and it's unfair, because the bike itself, it rides nicely. There's not a lot to complain about with this bike. It's just when it comes down to price, it's more expensive than a lot of the cheaper bikes that Into Moto sell. However, is it better than them? And that's what I'm stuck with. I don't know if it is. I think it's probably on par with them, and yet you're paying more for this one. So I don't know. I like it, but I just don't know. If it was my money, I think I'd rather go for. In fact, I'd probably get a Benelli TNT, because I'm just weird like that. I'd spend $2,500 on one of those, because they're just the most fun you can have on 2 wheels. I absolutely love the one I have. Brilliant little machines. Anyway, but I've just completely lost where I'm going. It's got very dark, that little ride I've had. I'm back at Into Moto in all its glory, all lit up. This bike is for sale with them, as are lots of other 125cc motorbikes. So if you're interested in a new or used 125cc motorcycle, they do have some bigger bikes as well, but predominantly they focus on the smaller ones. If you're interested, Into Moto is the place to go. And that is going to do me for today. A bit of an indifferent one. It's a bizarre thing for me to say. I like a bike, but there's others in there that are cheaper that I probably like more. So it's not a criticism of the bike. The bike's nice and rides brilliantly. It's just, there's a hell of a lot of bikes in there that I think are cheaper and better. So yeah, it's up to you. Everyone's taste different. I just know mine. So for now, that's going to do me. I will catch you guys on the next one. Laters.